GameForge is In the Hunt, Season 4. Retooled, rearmed with more knowledge to help you reach your performance goals and your next level. In the Hunt members, mount up. It's time for the hunt. Hey there, Fuel Nation and GameForgers. This is Brian Bailey bringing you a new In the Hunt podcast by myself. That's right, I have gone solo. I'm Sniperville. I'm hiding in the weeds, looking down at my prey. All right, anyways. So what we're going to talk about this week, I think is really exciting. I think this is something that I've been teasing out with a couple different coaches and in the system here over the last couple weeks and months. A number one question I've been getting from a lot of coaches that have either college coaches or junior programs: how can I be more efficient in applying GameForge data to training? So what we're going to do is talk about training reps and simplify golf training and kind of where to go look and what to train. So once again, let's dive in here and simplify golf with training reps. So the first thing people ask is, what should I focus in on? You know, this player, I shoot 74 average. What do I need to focus? Well, without a good data source, it's hard to say. And a lot of times what happens is you kind of roll into your own biases saying, I'm really good at hitting wedges, so I'm going to train wedges a lot. I'm really good with a driver, I'm going to hit driver a lot. That might be an issue that you're actually solving, but more times than not, most people's training goes back to what they're good at already, and they just kind of maintain that, which is important. We call that benchmarking. We don't want to lose ground in areas we're really good at, but we've got to learn to be able to focus, right? Be able to really dive into a certain area and put attention and really try to move the needle, because I need these areas to move to reach a certain goal. What we've learned in golf and inside of scoring, once you get inside the 70s, it's always an incremental movement of pieces, 1 or 2 pieces, 3 pieces at a time, moving slowly to get you to a bigger number. It's just not one piece can move. And also what we've also kind of learned with scoring as well is you can't have big gaps. You can't have holes. If my goal is to shoot par or better, I can't have certain areas that are just holding me back so much that I think I can overcome it with other parts of my game. So let's look at this player really quickly. So the GFI shows you everything in relationship to score. So this player is averaging 2 over par through 11 rounds. We drop the gray bar down, and anything left of the gray bar is actually taking them under their scoring average, so better than a 2 under or 2 over player, and anything right of the bar is actually taking them above, or they're playing a higher level of 3 over, 4 over, 5 over, etc. Anytime you see the orange bars, that means you are outside of the scale. So this player's scales goes to 6 under to 10 over. So anytime you see the orange stretch, that means you're outside of that scoring scale. So if we the first block we're going to look at is just scoring. And you can see that they're averaging 2.8 birdies, which is basically almost a scratch player. You can see their bogeys are out to about a 2 over player, which is 3.45. So we've got to learn to take bogey out of the system. And we can see that our doubles are just too high, 0.64. So doubles and bogeys are keeping us from getting closer to that scratch player. If you look at ball striking, which is kind of the next block down, you can see ball striking is a strength. You can see greens, you can see shots to greens, and you can see effective green. Everything to the left, and actually, playing anywhere from a 1 to 4 under player. So that part of the game is trying to get this player to be lower. And then what we can see inside of putting, inside of short game, we see the bars stretching a lot to the right? So those are areas that are kind of preventing this player from reaching their goal, is actually trying to pull them above 2 over par. So the GFI does a really good job and shows you in relationship to score. So I would say as a putter, this player averages more like a 5 over player. And as short game, I would say roughly the same. So ball striking is an under player, putting in short game is an over player. That is the traditional college look, right? Really strike it usually pretty well. Don't putt and chip all that great. So this player really fits the mold as a good Division I player, and this is a good Division I player. So from this, like I said, it gives you that concept of what's going on at its simplest root. So if I don't use GameForge, if I use another system, if you just go to 2 main pieces, and you can do this with a sheet of paper, you don't even need a stat program. Take your round. Today I shot 90, and I had 38 putts, right? So I had 38 putts, so I had 52 shots since I shot a 90 to the green. It took me 52 to the green. It took me 38 to get to the actual onto the putting green. So you can actually see, putting was actually a strength in relationship to strokes to green. So this player, if you look at their strokes to green, it took them 41 shots to get to the green. But you can see their total, and that they played like a 1-under player. And you can see that their total putts was 32.73. It was like an 8-over player, averaging roughly 33 putts. So again, you can see that putting is as an 8-over player outweighs that of the ball striking, which is a 1-under. And again, kind of quantifies what we already see. But that's kind of how we can use the GFI. And the really cool part about the GFI as well, if you understand these numbers, you can come up with very specific training games. So this player has 6 putts inside of 20 feet for birdie, 2 putts inside of 8. So you drop 4 balls from 9 to 20, 2 balls, 1 to 8. And their goal is to make 3+ birdies. That's kind of what they do now. So there's a lot of ways that you can apply the GFI. And we'll do another video on that one coming up shortly. But again, this is a really good way of starting to understand where to go work. Inside of GameForge, we do make it a little easier on you. We actually give you your target goals in relationship to scoring. So if this player is averaging 2 over par, our next goal is to get to 1. The left bar shows you currently what they're performing in each matrix, and everything in the right bar shows you kind of target goals. We light it up like a stoplight. Green is good. You're at or above. Orange means you're close to at. Maybe transitioning one way or the other, maybe going towards green to make it better, or it could be slipping to red to be worse. So that's usually within a deviation or a certain percentage. And then red, of course, means I am underperforming at that zone, or kind of understanding what that is. So once again, this gives you just a really simple way. I can just stare at it. Reds, I'm struggling. But then from there, I got to figure out which reds cost me the most, right? But before we look at that, let's dump in here into 2 main definitions. Something inside of GameForge, or you probably refer to inside your own game, is there are areas that I do really well. We call those benchmarks, right? I benchmarked it. Here's the number. I'm hitting the number, or I'm above the number. Benchmarks means whatever I'm doing inside of training, inside of what I do, it's working. General rule, don't change it. If you're actually getting the job done, don't make it an issue and take away from that and cause it to become a problem. So I always say, when you're really good at things, you benchmark it, you keep doing what you're doing, and you keep applying that same amount of time and effort. Make sure those numbers don't change. And then inside of GameForge, we also talk about something called focus training or focus practice. We're going to pick 1, maybe 2 items, depending on how much time we have in between events. What our actual training cycle looks like. Because if I got to play next week, training looks a whole lot different than if I'm playing 6 weeks from now. So we can actually change our scheduling, change how we set up training, change how pieces come in and out, offer more time and things like that. So focus area, I always like to say, focus on one thing only, makes it much easier. I'm going to work on X, and I'm just going to put everything in, that I need to move X. And once I move X enough, that focus will be either split or we'll go to a new piece, right? So to me, I like to focus on the one thing that I want to focus on. Because if I start focusing on too many pieces, then I can't really get better in a rate that I need to. So we have benchmarking and we have focus, right? So 2 main definitions. And then what I've done is come up with a little system that we call reps. So, reps inside of training is repetition, right? Time after time. Well, I took that same word, I made a little acronym of it. So inside of training, when you're laying out your training sessions and you're actually training, we've got to make sure we hit these 4 things. 1, relevancy, and we're going to dive in deeper. Is what I'm working on an area that I need to work on, and am I applying what I need to learn inside of that? Is it relevant to what I'm trying to do to get better? Again, if I'm training something that's making me 1% better, is that really relevant in getting me better holistically? Maybe 1%, but maybe there's 20% sitting over here that I'm not even touching. So relevancy, again, you got to pay attention. And if you think of relevancy, this really comes to performance and benchmarking. Are my scores, are my benchmarks, are my skills at the level that I need them to be to move forward? So that's relevancy, right? Efficient, applying time. How much time in practice? How much time do I have in between events? Again, I want to be efficient in the way I train, and I want to be efficient on the manner that I learn. Again, I would really highly recommend you to go listen to a lot of Gareth McShay's videos in the past where he talks about learning. Again, as an older adult, I'm an experienced adult. My ability to learn is a very short window, 20 minutes, give or take. So if I train in a focus area more than 20 minutes, I'm really not, it's after that, it's really not effective. But if I'm younger, 18-year-old, a high school kid, things like that, their windows can be up to 2 hours of learning. So understanding that and how to bring things back to speed up the learning process. Again, Gareth McShay will highlight a lot of that for you. But again, we want to be as efficient as we can inside of training because we don't want to waste your time as a player. We don't want to waste your time as a coach. So is what I'm doing being efficient? The next one is productive. So efficiency is kind of setting up times and understand how I want to create my training session, how much time I'm going to apply to stuff, long-term goals, short-term goals, all about time. Productive is what I did actually moving the needle. So this is where I think assessments come involved. So assessments are very productive. That gives you targeted training and basically goal setting and see how well we're doing at a certain skill or a certain part of the game. Productive is over time is our drills actually moving our score. I don't want to sit there for a couple months and work on some drills and all this thinking I'm productive, but it's not moving scoring. That is just called exercise, right? So when we train, we have to be productive. We have to be moving the needle. We have to be reflecting and say, is what we're doing actually making us better? And the final thing that I think everybody does a really bad job at, player-wise, coach-wise, across the country, there are exceptions. There's always outliers. But you need to simulate golf. Can we get them to actually get on the golf course and do different stuff? Can we get them to be on TrackMan or Flight Scope or whatever the other boxes are, Foresight, whatever, and actually have them hitting shots into greens and, changing trajectories, changing shapes, doing different stuff, simulating what golf is, getting on a putting green, simulating that by never hitting the same putt twice, same thing with chipping. We need to simulate golf and put them inside of pressures. And again, we want to try to, because the way you learn to play golf, I hate to say it, is very simple. You go play golf. I think we spend too much time training components and that don't always translate into golf. So every session you should be simulating actually playing, applying these focus areas, applying these benchmarks areas, and making sure that you can take this to the golf course. So again, this would be reps: relevancy, efficiency, productivity, and simulate golf. Go play, right? So let's just take that same player we just looked at, and let's just kind of walk through kind of some relevancy, efficiency, production, and simulate. Let's see here. So the first thing we looked at, you remember we weren't very good at short game, and we weren't very good at putting overall, right? So with putting, I really narrowed that down into 3 putts because the 3 putts was 1.45, and a collegiate player, we want that under 1. So there's definitely a half a shot we can kind of find with that. And then if you actually kind of look through this player's short game, they do it really well all the way out. So from the fairway, very good 20 to 30, 3 total shots. Something to think about, but not overly focused there. Bunker shot, 4 shots, 20 to 30. Out of the rough, 10 to 20, we had 19 shots. Again, it matters. But again, at that rate, they were getting up and down or hitting at P6 35% of the time, and it should have been closer to 70. So 35% of the time, they should have been a little bit better with P6. So we got 20 to 30 out of the fairway, 20 to 30 out of the bunker, and then we have a higher dispersion rate of 10 to 20 with 19 shots out of the rough. And then, like I said, we also looked at 3 putts, where the 3 putts coming from, 11 to 20 feet. We had 4 3 putts, which is a little high. 21 to 30, we had 63 putts. 31 to 40, we had 5. But what we can see with the 3 putts, right, is at 11 to 20, she was averaging well past 4 feet. And we know once you get past 4 feet, the potential of 3 putting grows exponentially, right? So, from 11 to 20 and 20 to 30, she should be averaging 3 feet and in. And what we're starting to see is 11 to 20 is over 4 feet. 21 to 30 on average is like almost 8 feet. 31 to 40 is actually 10 feet past. So these zone, and then 41 to 50 and 51 to 60 are kind of coming back to what we would expect. So what we've got to figure out with this player is there's an aggressive streak, or is it really bad reads? Because if you miss the putt low, it triples your error. Mark Sweeney just did a great video inside of Fuel, inside of the most interesting graph, talking about how to avoid three putts as a tour player. That video would highlight this very well, so I encourage you to go watch that. But again, this is kind of where three putts are. They're averaging 1.5 per round. We want that under a 1. So that's at least a half shot advantage that we can pick up right there with three putts, which is very unusual. But that's an area that we can pick up very clean. So if I just kind of did the math, I actually said, all right, what percentage of density, what are their gaps at? So scrambling is costing me 0.7 shots, and three putts are costing me 0.5. So scramble is costing me more than three putts. So relevancy, that it kind of explains the two. Scrambling is something that is more, but three putts I think is something that as a coach I could fix more quickly. So getting them to understand how to create speed, length of stroke, time of stroke, get better reads, that's something I can teach them. Skill-wise, I can teach them in a day, and if they train it for a week or two, they would become really, really proficient at it. Scrambling from different lie conditions, different distances, that's a lot of different skills that have to be trained, a lot of different techniques, a lot of different equipment pieces. There's a lot of there. So to me, to be able to fix a scrambling piece in a week, maybe, but to me, that would be much more of a long-term fix. So what we're going to talk about next is efficiency, right? So let's look at the scrambler. To me, that would be more of a long-term fix. So we've got to find one shot inside of scrambling. So how are we going to do that? Well, because efficient time, I don't have as much time because I have an event coming up in a week or two that I'm going to spend a majority of my time with three putting. So what I'm going to start to do is add pieces as a coach and as a player that I need to start improving upon. Start doing assessments, start doing training, and starting to figure out what parts are giving me issues. But I'm going to slip those in, inside of training sessions, but I'm not going to go crazy with it. They're just going to kind of slip them in and out, kind of bring them back around, but I'm going to slowly build over time with that. And then again, so again, if we kind of looked at them side by side, scrambling would be more of a long-term training progress because there was multiple shots, multiple pieces that I got to fix. Where three putt is basically short-term training. Most three putts at this level, college player, their start lines are going to be pretty good. So it's really a speed and a read component. And again, that's something I know as a coach I can fix rather quickly by using aim point, speed and read stuff. Again, scrambling would be more of a long-term fix, where a three putt, I think I could schedule time, really pour in a lot of information, get them better very quickly, very simple skill sets to improve upon, and put them in a very competitive, training loop where we can pick up a lot quick. So to me, that would be more time inside the schedule, where the scrambling would be less time and kind of woven in and out, kind of following the model of Gareth McShay. Pace to the circle, back to learning. So again, how often do these drills come back? So the pace when I'm doing long term, it's going to come in and out every couple days, every couple weeks. These drills and these components and these assessments will come in and out, where kind of as I'm trying to move this player quick, I'm going to be pouring in tons of time and information and training in this one single area. So again, you can kind of see efficiency wise how I'm actually applying time. So to me, the scramble would be more of a scalpel approach. I'm going to start sliding pieces in, training pieces, technique pieces, concept, all those pieces segmented throughout a training session over a longer period of time, where the three putt's more of a hammer approach. Boom, we're just going to hit you with it and get better, right? So again, the efficiency of time is also not just time inside of training, but it's also how long do I have in between events? How often do I use it inside of training? How many days in a row, things like that. So again, anything with time is we're trying to be efficient. Hope that makes sense. The next thing we're going to talk about is being productive. So once we start to, lay out our map and we're looking at trends, we're looking at assessments, we're looking at all these pieces, what we need to start paying attention to is our productivity. Are we getting better? Is what we're training getting us better? What we're going to start to find out is, let's say our P6, or our three putt was a main area. So the first thing we're going to talk about is concepts, like what is a good putt from 10 to 20 feet. You had 5 three putts there. What is considered a good putt? What should your leave look like? And does that concept match what the data tells us? So again, from 10 to 20 feet, we want to average 2 feet past the hole. That's it. 2 feet past the hole if we miss. So this person was averaging 4.5 feet. So there was a concept missing, right? They're being probably a little too aggressive, running it a little too far back, trying to make putts. But again, once you get past 3 feet, you start introducing the 3 putt quickly. So again, these concepts matter. 10 to 20, again, 2 feet past. 20 to 30, we're going to 10% short, 10% long. 3 feet short, 3 feet long is good. But again, is there concepts right? How to generate speed, things like that. So a lot of times what you'll find out is a lot of players' issues are actually at the conceptual level. What they think they need to do or they think has to happen to be able to perform might be a little skewed, or it could be 180 degrees opposite. So concepts a lot of times can clear up and free up training quickly. And then inside of the concepts, then we talk about process. What were you targeting? What are your benchmarks? What are your goals? What are we trying to accomplish? Setup to the ball, to the club, motion of the body, motion of the club, equipment, right tool, needed tool. So what we can start to do is, once we start going through these productivities, once we start doing assessments and we understand strengths and weaknesses, why I'm missing certain chips, why I 3-putt, we can really narrow in on concepts and actual components that are preventing them from performing. So we can tree out and show you exactly where to go train. And that's what we want to be able to do, because if we can tree out, show where to train, show how we're getting better, how our production's getting better, our efficiency inside of training is better, our relevancy is better, all of a sudden our score is better. It's not rocket science. We're golf coaches, right? So that's kind of how we can start moving a player. And the last thing is just simulate golf. Like, don't train by just hitting balls and trying to create launch angles and spin rates. All those are important, but how does that spin rate interact with the green, and what is that going to do? They need to understand that. That's a concept. How can I shape it this way, shape it that way, change the trajectory? What would that do? So if you're having players changing trajectories and launch angles and all that, and not taking them that next step and say, all right, when it hits the green, what would happen? What do you think would happen? Well, what if you change this? What would happen? Get them to learn and understand what they're doing, why they're doing, and how it relates to golf. That's coaching. Get away from just technique. That's the worst thing we can do for players, is just teach by technique. So simulate golf. You can use your GFI, use assessments, you apply your GFI, play on course. Again, like I said, if you understand your GFI, you can say, all right, we're doing putting drills, basically 20 feet and in. How many putts do you have for birdie? 9 to 20. How many you have putts from 1 to 8? You could do a scramble game. On average, how many P6s do you have? How many P12s? How many opportunities? And how many bogeys you're making? Can we reduce that? So the beauty of the GFI is it gives you a lot of games, a lot of understanding, and you get to compete against yourself. And then, like I said, you can set your next level goals and go chase that. So make sure you simulate golf, because we are training golfers to be golfers, not driving range robots. Now, if you're really good with the driver and that's all you do, and you want to go to long drive stuff, okay, hit your driver, enjoy that. But, again, there's not a lot of long drive guys on tour. Matter of fact, there's none, right? Because they're very skilled in what they're trying to do, and they're applying things differently, and they're okay with a huge miss where golf doesn't allow you to do that. I guess there's 1 or 2 of the guys that are long drives that are trying to play. But again, if being really good at one thing was, that great, then every long drive champion would be a great golfer, right? It's not the way it works. They're really good at driving the golf ball. So again, if you want them to be golfers, get them on the golf course. And if you can't get in the golf course because of weather, because of, an indoor studio or whatever, then make sure we're simulating golf rounds by shaping holes, shaping shots, telling them what they're trying to do, and then can they hit the shot that they need to. So those would be your reps, right? Make sure that everything you do is relevant. Make sure everything is efficient. Are we being productive in our time management, skill development, all those components, and then simulate golf. So that was just a quick video I wanted to shoot. Again, this is something that I'm teasing out. I would love to get feedback from you guys as coaches and players. maybe how to apply this, if you have questions, if I didn't really go into enough detail or I just confused you, because I'm really good at doing that with people. I've come to learn. So if there's anything you want to add to it, take away from it, think this component would be cool, but you could, here's a different thing about time you could think about. I'd love to hear your feedback, because again, what we want to do is create a really good training program for players and coaches. And if this is beneficial, I hope this helps you. This is kind of the way I've been training players for years, and this is the first time I've put it down kind of on paper and really given it thoughts and came up with a really cool acronym, right? REPS. No, I'm kidding. Let me know where I can help. Once again, this is Brian Bailey with my GameForge, Fuel, Instagram, email. Find me at the top there. Thank you for joining this In the Hunt solo. Brian Bailey and Mark Sweeney and Gareth McShay are actually coming to Charlottesville in June, so we will be together and we'll try to record 1 or 2 big group podcasts while we are together here in Charlottesville doing some college coaches and aim point seminars. So thank you so much, and we look forward to bringing you more information in the future. Bye now.
This has been a Fuel production.